Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my. I would like to start by introducing myself. My name is Talitha Ulima Yuzadarman. It's student number 221142111. And as you can see on the screen today, I will share a topic about morphology, the words of language. So we will be discussing linguistic knowledge, content and function words, morpheme, and rules of word formation. The first one, linguistic knowledge. Knowing a language allows you to communicate with others and be understood by them. This is what it means by having linguistic knowledge. It means you have the capacity to generate sounds that imply specific meanings and to comprehend or interpret the sounds produced by others. In linguistic knowledge, there are two things, is knowledge of the sound and knowledge of the words. Knowing which sounds are used in that language and which are not is a significant part of knowledge. This is referred to knowledge of the sound system or knowledge of sounds. And knowing language's sound system goes beyond simply knowing its sound collection. And additionally, it requires being aware of the sounds that can begin and follow one another in a word. The second one is knowing a language also requires understanding that particular sound combination represent particular ideas or meaning. This is what it means by knowledge of words. The relationship between speech sound and the meanings they convey is, for the most part, random. Therefore, words and also sentences in a language you don't know will be largely incomprehensible. Next, moving on to content words. Content words is words with meaning. They are usually adjective, basic verbs, nouns, and adverbs frequently used in as a content word. A verb or a noun describes an action or a state, while a noun identifies the item, and a verb describes how, when, and where something is done, whereas adjectives provide information about things and people. The information provided by nouns, verb, adjective, and adverb is important to comprehend. Content words are frequently pronounced in reduced form or word with schwa sound, whereas content words are frequently stressed. These are content words example. We have nouns, people, places, things, and ideas. Example is Paris, Seattle, cars, and happiness. There is also main verbs, verbs with auxiliaries, backgrounds, means, thinking, adjectives, words that describe nouns like red, soft, careful, and then there are also adverbs, words that describe verbs, calmly, quickly, carefully, and then moving on to function words. Function words in linguistics are words that have little or no lexical meaning, but show grammatical links between other words in a phrase or indicate the speaker's attitude or mood. Function words serve a grammatical function in sentences. Pronouns, determiners, and conjunctions are examples of function words. But there are also things like articles, which is like the word the, a, and auxiliaries like can, must, might, will, or demonstrative like this, these, that, those, quantifiers, many, few, little, some. There is also prepositions like on, with, to, from, and we have pronouns and conjunctions. And we're gonna be talking about morphemes. A morpheme is a meaningful linguistic unit in English grammar and morphology that cannot be broken down into smaller meaningful components. We have free morpheme. A morpheme or word element that may stand alone as a word is referred to as free morpheme. It is also known as a freestanding morpheme or an unbound morpheme. Free morpheme is the opposite of a bound morpheme, which is a word element that cannot stand alone, like I said earlier. English words frequently only contain one free morpheme. For instance, each word in the phrase "I need to go now, but you can stay" is a separate morpheme. In other words, none of the nine words in a sentence can be broken down into smaller, equally significant units. Free morpheme can be divided into two categories. One is function words and content words. And we have bound morpheme. Prefixes and suffixes are both examples of bound morphemes, which are word elements that cannot function as a word on their own. In contrast, free morpheme can function as the whole word and cannot be divided into additional word parts. A new word, or at least a new form of an existing word, is produced when a bound morpheme is joined to a free morpheme, as when the prefix "free" is added to verb start. Bound morphemes can be further divided into two categories: the revisional and inflectional morpheme, which I will explain about it later on. Bound morphemes are represented in writing and speech by word segments known as morph. This is free and bound morphemes example. Free morpheme can stand alone as a word, like dog, gentle, picture, gem. Bound morpheme there is the revisional, which is divided into two-part prefixes and suffixes, and then there's also inflectional suffixes like plural as, a, at, and we also have bound root. Bound root is a root that cannot appear as a word on its own without any further morphemes. Bound roots don't appear on their own and only take on significance when combined with additional morphemes. For example, the Latin words receive, conceive, perceive, and deceive all have the same root "sieve", as do the English word remit, permit, commit, submit, transmit, and admit. "Sieve" and "mit" are Latinate morphemes that had distinct meanings for the original Latin speakers, but current English speakers do not understand what "sieve" and "mit" imply. Therefore, their meaning varies depending on where in the word they appear. And we coming to the last topic is rules of word formation. The first one is the revisional morpheme. Is a set of letters that are added to the beginning or prefix or end suffix of a root or base word to produce a new term or new version of an existing word in grammar. The grammatical category or part of speech of the root word to which a revisional morpheme is introduced is frequently altered. For instance, changing the "e" to an "r" at the end of the verb merge transforms it into a noun, whereas adding "full" to the noun "beauty" transferred it into an adjective, "beautiful." A derived word or derivative is the form of a word that results from the addition of a revisional morpheme. The next one is inflectional morpheme. An inflectional morpheme is a suffix that is added to a word, a noun, verb, adjective, or adverb in English morphology to give that word a specific grammatical attribute, such as its tense, number, position, or comparison. The bound morpheme "s" or "es", "at", and "er", "est", and "in" are examples of inflectional morpheme in the English language. These suffixes might even serve two or three purposes. For instance, the suffix "s" can indicate precision when used with an apostrophe in the appropriate location, make count nouns plural, or change a verb's tenses to third-person singular. Past participles and past tense can be created using the suffix "at". So that's all the basic about morphology. We talk about morpheme, we talk about inflectional and derivational, we talk about suffix and prefixes. So that's the end of my presentation. And I would like to say thank you for your time and interest. If you have any question regarding my presentation, you can contact me. Thank you.